it's always been on the agenda, isn't it? And it gets brought up probably every year. We tried to attack it a bit harder a couple of years ago, and that faded away. And I think if we're all honest as refs and players, scrums have got a lot better in recent years, but we still want to watch rugby with the ball in play. And at the moment, if scrums have improved significantly from where they were, and the ball is in play more. Now, whether we need to make that a bit of a fairer competition is always the debate. But at the moment, we seem to be having successful scrum outcomes. We got Wales v Ireland on Sunday. We had 10 scrums and 10 times the ball came out of them, which is, I think people would rather see that than be too heads up with the put-ins. But clearly, it's a point of discussion and will be brought up in future years to come.
Again, everyone's got a slightly different view on this. I don't think we're in a bad place with crooked scrum feeds. I think since we've had the introduction that the hooker must strike the ball, I think the ball is being struck. We then went along the lines of interpretation of the middle, that the putting in hooker can have the middle, he can have his left hand shoulder in line with the middle, so he is naturally stood to his own side. And I think that was more brought in terms of safety, so that hooker didn't have to overreach to strike the ball. So we've got the two things there in terms of the hooker striking and the ball having to go into the tunnel, so he's got a slight advantage. But also then you've got that layer of the scrum being so complex that actually we've got A, B, C and D in terms of the setup of the scrum, the binds on the scrum, the angles of the props, what the back row are doing. That we've got to look at certain things like that before we can look at the scrum feed, because they're safety elements. And the scrum feed is not a safety element. And if my eyes are up on a tight head who's moved his bind from the shoulder to the back of the arm, and I miss a scrum feed, but I get a good call on a scrum being collapsed by a tight head who's on the arm rather than penalising the loose head, I know which the team coaches would prefer me to get, and I know which I'm more comfortable in being quick on the whistle with, is that scrum that might end up on the floor.
Now, look, it's an easy answer for me to say, oh, there's so much to be looking at. Has it fallen off? It probably has, in terms of where our focus area was a few years ago. But what people need to remember as well is that a scrum half is entitled to step to their side, provided they feed the ball straight down that line. So they don't have to be directly in the middle of the scrum and feed the ball. They can step to their side and feed the ball, provided it's straight.